Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognized authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Have you ever been so nervous you literally needed to vomit? Well, I was on the verge as I interviewed two powerhouse global female leaders, Tempest and Allison Flatley, for today's show. I'm a blokey bloke, and I do my best to not offend anyone. Probably fail more times than I succeed. So this interview, I was extra careful and on the edge of my seat. To be honest, I love chatting with Allison and Mel because I actually learned so much about leading females in the workplace and also how women see things. Now, you're going to want to listen right to the end as I stump them both with a doozy of a question. So, let's rip in. Leading a department or a business often means you are the best at the role, and now you've got a promotion. To support you and all of our up-and-coming leaders and owners who just want to be better owners, Rex Roundtables for Leaders in July had their inaugural leadership conference. We're calling it the Leadership Academy. This will be a ripper event as you'll learn how to be a leader of people and operations. So check out rexleadershipacademy.com and I'll see you there. Now, I got to be honest, I love storytelling. Anyone who has ever heard me present at a conference, I use stories to illustrate my points. And storytelling can be a great way to market your business, as no business has the same story. This week, listen to Danielle in our Wise Words segment talk about storytelling.
I'm Danielle Krischik. I'm a partner and chief strategy officer at Knight Agency. We're a marketing agency that builds business through human connection, and we do it through storytelling. My company's website and my podcast website, The Story Effect, are in the show notes below. We need to talk about storytelling. The power of storytelling to drive human connection. There is no greater sales tool for a gym than a transformation story. Everyone wants to believe that they will get results, and they need to see themselves in that story. A great example of this and the power of story to drive business is Llewellyn. She's the founder of Bloom Nutrition. She basically started a brand and a company by leveraging her own weight loss story. She lost over 90 pounds, and she has posted and shared her before and after photos, and it's truly incredible what she's done. She talks about the weight loss itself, how she felt, how she did it, the psychological journey of it. She gets very vulnerable, very transparent, and it becomes very relatable. Bloom has made over $100 million in sales. She is absolutely exploding, and it's all because she leaned in on her own personal story and made it relatable to her audience. The most famous example of this would be Nike. Nike's Just Do It campaign. It's the story behind that line that is so incredible. And the stories, because there's so many stories that make that line true. After Wyden Kennedy launched that campaign, the company experienced 1,000% increase in sales in 10 years. 1,000%. Nike is not just for champions, it's for anyone willing to get up and try. There's something so powerful in that because everyone can see themselves in that story. You have to create stories that captivate, relate, and motivate. And I'll break that down for you. By the way, I'm revealing right now my secret formula, so don't tell anyone, but this is really how you do it. Captivate. You have to get people's attention, especially now. Social media, TikTok, everything is fed to us in seconds, right? 30 seconds. 10 seconds. So how do you captivate an audience? You have to start by giving them something that kind of itches their brain, makes them think a little bit differently. So if you're talking about fitness, give them a fact about Pilates that gets their attention. Once you have their attention, you have to relate to them on a human level. What does that really mean to us? What does that mean to human beings and the psyche that goes into it and the vulnerability that goes into it? How can you tell a story that relates to that journey? And then motivate. At the end of the storytelling, you have to tell people what to do. Sign up for a membership. Try a session with one of our trainers. Whatever it is, you have to give them a very clear action that you want them to take. That is what is going to drive business results. So you've got my attention. You've related to me on a personal level, and I can see myself in your story. And then you told me what to do, how to act. The best way to do any of this is to listen. Connect with your gym managers. Listen to their stories. Ask them deep questions. Listening to the community, to potential clients. Listen to current clients. What is working? What do they love and hope that never goes away? And what do they really wish they had in the gym? My challenge for you is to find your why. This is the deepest way to connect and drive business, your why. So sit down with your business partners and think about your why. And your why is not to make money, right? But underneath that is a higher calling. You exist to show people the power of their own potential. That's a great why. That becomes the story that connects everyone. It connects your business partners, your vendors, your gym management, your trainers, the clients, the community. Everyone can connect to a greater calling or greater purpose. Some people call it purpose, but if you just think about finding your why, it really simplifies it. So at Night Agency, we are master storytellers. And we create storytelling strategies for businesses in all industries to connect people to your business strategy to drive performance and growth. So if you want help with any of this, get a hold of me. My contact details are below. I can help you think through how to create a strategy to use story to grow your business and drive results.
Thanks, Danielle, for those truly wise words. And for those not watching us on YouTube, my merch sponsor this episode is Rex Roundtables. This is to coincide with the launch of the Rex Leadership Academy and, of course, having Allison, who chairs the Iron Maidens Rex Roundtable on the show today. I'll put the link in the show notes to the Academy and Rex Roundtables. But I can be your next social media influencer. I'll wear your swag or your merch in our interviews. Just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/merch and apply now. We love hearing from our FBP community, so drop us an email or leave us a voice message. Check the link in the show notes on how to leave a voice message directly to me. So Allison and Mel, tell everybody why you are experts in women's leadership, and that's why you're on the show today. You got 60 seconds each. Let's go alphabetical order, Allison and then Mel.
All right, terrific. JT, I'm an expert on women leaders because I'm a woman and a leader, and so that makes me an expert on the topic. But I'm an industry veteran, been in the industry for 30 plus years. Almost turning the corner on that number 40, which is a little scary, but was an operator. So ran all different types of clubs and was an industry consultant for a few years. And now I chair a roundtable with Rex Roundtable, or Rex Roundtable chair. And I started the first Rex Roundtable for leaders for women leaders. So I have the pleasure of working with a tremendous group of very diverse women leaders in the industry.
Awesome. Thank you. Mel, what about you? Why are you the expert in this field?
I won't say that I'm an expert. I say that I'm an influencer. I had a life industry, believe it or not, which was predominantly all male and having to go through quite a few obstacles in order to go up the food chain in the ag industry. And content in fitness is sort of same issue, and felt what I'd learned in previous life I would pass on to women in the industry here. And that's all go and not being afraid to speak. And if I'm encouraging women to do that, then I see myself as an influencer when it comes to leadership.
Now I want to give you a challenge as experts. I don't want us to look in the past and say, okay, well, what were the trends around women's leadership back in the history? Because I guess we know we screwed up and it's not just our industry, it's multiple industries. But what trends are you seeing in the industry to elevate women into leadership and ownership roles? Let's go reverse alphabetical order. We'll go Mel and Allison.
So what does the industry need to do to elevate women? To be quite honest with you, JT, what we need to do is just to start filling some of those gaps with women, allowing them to see more events, encouraging them to apply to speak at more events, giving them a little bit more airtime. But the other thing that we need to do too is to tell women, woe is me, and to put their big burly pants on, because if they want to be treated as an equal, little brave like an equal, we need to remember as point the finger like this. Always if there's another finger pointing at that person. So I think women are quite capable of taking any position on in the industry. We just need to encourage them and stop the woke is me.
Yeah, good answer. I like that. Allison, what are you seeing as a trend as we elevate women in leadership and ownership roles?
Well, I'd say there's more opportunity for women to share their stories with each other, whether that's the Rex roundtables or Fuel or some of the events that are geared toward women, because the more women hear other stories of other successful women, the more empowered they are. And I would just say in general with business and clubs and employers, we've learned that you have to have great benefits, great policies really to keep people. And a lot of times women are affected when there aren't great policies helping them, balance life and balance business. And so I think employers, businesses, clubs have gotten better. And we've also learned the last, just learning it more and more, how important professional development is. And if you're constantly inviting and including women with professional development, they're going to excel. As Mel said, a woman can hold any position. So they just get more opportunity to see those positions.
Free plug time. Mel, this show will drop just before the Health and Fitness Association conference in Vegas. What are you doing in Vegas?
So I've been our host the Women's Leadership Forum again this year, so I'm super excited. We did it last, lots of positive feedback. So I'll be hosting that, and on the day that the event was, and then the last week I'll be hosting the panel all about women in the lifestyle phase of growth.
We'll put the links to the Health and Fitness Association's conference, also known as URSA, but we haven't mentioned that one, in that show note. Mel, while you've got the microphone, you're a very successful club owner, like from a country town, so I can imagine you're inspirational to just people that live in the town as well as people in the industry. When did you realise that you were a bit of a role model of inspiration for women? And then how did that make you feel?
I only got into this industry, JT, to teach body jam. It was never about equipment, dumbbells, any of that, which most people know. It wasn't really, to be honest with you, until in the middle of COVID. A member walked up, we opened. Because a member walked up to me, she said, "Thank you for what you've done through COVID. You saved my life." And then he's kind of like, "Yeah, no one's the last time because I don't think you understand. Actually, you really saved my life. And you don't want to go on. And you're getting up every morning and teaching the classes and coming back at night time teaching the places is what keeps going." So I really realized the importance of the role that I have, not just in the sport, but in the industry as well. But I always say, you're only as good as your next class. You're only as good as your next speaking gig. Every day you should be putting out and inspiring somebody to do something different, whether they're female or male.
Allison, following on from that, do you think many female leaders in our industry realise I'm going to say the responsibility that they actually have to inspire other women, as you both have, to take on those leadership roles?
I do. I do think women recognize, I hate to stereotype, but women tend to be more caring for the people. So I think they care and want to help their team advance, or they want to give them more opportunity. So I do think there is kind of a responsibility. And to speak specifically with the Rex Iron Maidens, which is the name of the Women's Roundtable, is we have women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s on the roundtable. So all different levels of their career, different levels of their life and family, and to really see each generation kind of help each other, kind of reframing, because as you go through life, there's so many things that come up that consume you. But when you have that perspective of career or perspective of life, you can help each other reframe it. So I do think there is a responsibility. I know when I first went to HFA or IRSA back then, I came from the health promotion industry, which was all women. And I looked up on the stage and there were no women. It was all men in dark suits. And I thought, I know I can contribute here because they have very few female voices. So I do think there is kind of an inherent responsibility.
Can I come back to you and ask you some more questions about the Iron Maidens, Rex, in a minute? Mel, why are women hesitant to take on leadership roles?
I think women undervalue how smart they are. I think women undervalue someone's contribution toward the industry they might be working in. And there's a lot of women out there from UND going really, really well. But with leadership comes great responsibility and accountability. Leaders who provide solutions. And some women, they want to do the leadership, but they're a little bit worried about doing what else comes with the role. When you go out and you're vocal like I am in the industry, sometimes the recognition for that is you get less Christmas cards at Christmas because not everybody likes to be talked today. With all due respect to the men that are in the industry, a lot of the time I go out there and say it. And a guy might go, he's often said that, but he'll have a 5 minutes later. That may not happen in the female community. So with leadership comes great responsibility and accountability. And I think women sometimes punished a little bit more as opposed to men if they do go out there and speak.
Do you think, is it only the role models like you two and others in our industry that can change that hesitancy to become a leader? Or is it society? How do we make the change?
I'll go first if that's all right. Let's look at this properly. When fitness trends comes out, where do we hear about it? Through the media, right? Where do we hear about it? In events, articles in magazines, people blow on the horn. This is the latest. We should all be doing it. Why can't we create a trend when women leaders are the leaders? Why can't we be women in magazines out there? Why can't all brands, franchises post on the women leaders within that organisation? Why does it always need to be the person at the top of the food chain or the person who needs to play gets all of the media coverage? We just don't go out there and tell the female story. And we are to blame as an industry because sometimes we don't need to take the risk. And I'm very much about if you can live with the worst scenario, go out there and do it. We need to be pushing women more. Men need to go and play. Actually, going to ask that question. When I was on the panel as well, I'm going to give you a really quick story, and they were Allison Gold. I didn't leave the Healthy Aging Summit last year. Great summit to have our industry needs it. I was introducing a panel that was all men, and one of the men, the very start of it, goes, "What's going on? There should be women up here on the stage. There's no women on the stage." I was up on the stage as MC. And so my reply to that was, the last time I looked, I was a female. So what's my role as the industry devalue as opposed to being a panelist or the keynote speaker?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point and extremely valid. Allison, have you got anything to add to that?
I would just say that women like to be invited. So anytime you can invite women to events, to participate, it's just the nature. They want to be invited versus raising their hand. And you can look at, the studies on applying for jobs. If you're a man and you have 20% of what's in that job description, you're like, I can do that job. I'm going to apply. If you're a woman, you have to have 90% of that job description before you'll apply. So there's just as Mel mentioned, there's a little bit of a hesitancy to kind of brag about yourself, to see your value that you contribute. So I think that's changing as, women hear stories about other women and see success and women along the way inviting other women. I mean, Mel led a tremendous women's leadership meeting last year at HFA, and to be in a room with over 100 women is different than being in a room with a mixed audience. And there's so much power in there, and you can just feel it bounce across the rooms and people getting out. So I think the more you have those type of events, you invite women, the more comfortable they have. Most women don't want to go to an event or don't want to participate when the entire stage is all men, or when they walk into the room and the majority of room is men. It's just not appealing.
Allison, can I take that to a practical example for our listeners? If a staff cohort in a gym is predominantly males, do females, are they hesitant to apply for a role in that business?
Absolutely.
And then you also, and I like the word invited, if you do have females in your organization and you're doing an internal appointment or there's an opportunity higher up the corporate ladder, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way, but tap the woman on the shoulder and say, you should really apply for this. You've got the skills.
I do that all the time. And I will say there's a couple of people who remind me regularly that I'm so glad you reached out to me and said, you have to apply for this job, because I would not have. Or if, something comes across and I see it and I think, oh my gosh, this is perfect for this woman. And, I hear from them all the time, this is my dream job. I would have never done it unless you said, apply or interview. So I do think leaders should, as you described it, tap the shoulder. And, JT, another example is we did some club visits recently, and, there was a mixed audience going to clubs, males and females, and we walked into kind of a young happening. The workout room was, it was gorgeous. It was filled with men lifting weights. Everyone from an industry perspective was like, oh my gosh, I would love to work out here. This is so cool. And if you watch, you saw the women hang back. And when we got out of the club, the first thing we said is, I would never in a million years work out there. And the men were just shocked, because it was gorgeous. It had all the great equipment, and it just was not necessarily a welcoming environment for women. So I do think that it has to be a welcoming environment.
Mel, do you find as a female owner, you have other females that work for you wanting to rise on the corporate ladder?
Oh, absolutely. When anybody comes and walks alongside me, I always tell them in that interview process that I don't want you to stay here. All right, that's the reality. And these are some of all these things that I have to do. You can be doing those things too. I had to ask an employee who's been 13 years out for and say to him, you're not going to make any money being a personal trainer in what you're doing right now. You need to go and get a secure job for young family. This person going last. You need to go and do about the last 3 or 4 years. You went and did that for a very successful career in another industry. And that you use this as a quick foundation. But you know, through the process of that journey, you do the wrong thing by me, you will be over. I've been very lucky that the majority of my people who walk alongside me, 18 or no.
Allison, I'm going to ask you a really simple question about the Iron Maiden's Rex Roundtables. For those listening, hang in there, because I have got a curly question for both of our panelists. One that Mel said in an email back to me was, Oh, that's an interesting question. That's just getting everybody to hold on just a couple of minutes. Allison, at the Iron Maidens Rex Round tables, can you share what sort of topics you talk about in the meetings?
I would say it is a very safe place. So there's nothing that's off limits in the sense of talking about. Everyone's very comfortable, but similar to probably most meetings, they talk about operations and systems, so kind of best practices. They talk about resources. They're very sharing with resources. So if someone wants to update an employee manual, they'll share their manuals. And, so you're never starting from the beginning. You're building on what's working for others. And then I would say a lot of the discussion is about perspective and someone sharing a challenge or something that isn't working in their business or at their club, and everyone contributing, kind of brainstorming at why from a different perspective. I mentioned, we have someone in their 20s in the round table, and they give kind of a perspective that some of the people in the roundtable are their kids' age. So it's really just a sharing of goals, aspirations, how to navigate a bad business partner, how to help with goals. So it's a safe place, so they talk about everything.
We'll put the links to the Iron Maidens Rex Round tables in the show notes that you'll find at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. All right, I'm going to paint a scenario for you female leaders.
Is this the curly question?
Here comes the curly one. However, even though it's a curly question, I do think it's a reality. And the reality is this. There's a male owner of a fitness business. He has a female who has a great talent in her role. And while she's not expressed to the owner a desire to climb the leadership ladder or have added responsibility, it's very obvious to her peers, males and females, her peers. What advice would you give the male owner? Allison, we'll go alphabetical.
I would, but he wants her to advance, so others know, but the male owner doesn't know. Is that
correct? The male owner is unaware.
Okay. Unaware. Oh, goodness. It is a curly question. I was thinking inviting her or including her in meetings, including her in an opportunity to try something new or to lead a program, lead a challenge so she could get some experience beyond what she's doing now. And then sounds like the owner may be unaware of his team if he doesn't recognize her and everyone else. Maybe that's something where, from a peer perspective, you support each other and, recommend that each take a training at each meeting or something that, sounds like that team needs to manage up and maybe manage the owner.
Good answer. I like that. Mel?
Well, the head is only as good as that supports it, and your team it's the way that it is. And so I think we need to encourage the feeling and listening to speak up. We know that our, delegate training or sessions or things like that. Sometimes we also have to be honest with ourselves that the owner like the person in the team. That's the reality. We can't all get on together. That's the next problem. When important situations occur in your business, everybody pulls together as a team. So part of the team acknowledging the gifts that each other have and speaking up about them. Personally, I wouldn't have a problem with not overreach for something that I really felt like I don't have a problem in not being and saying, I don't understand what you're looking at me. Is there a problem with me? You're not like. You need to think about the benefits in business, the benefits I can bring to the industry, what sort of growth can I create. I'm going to change the status quo. I'm going to give you a new thought process to look at, because if we keep doing the same, nothing will ever change.
Yeah, great answer. My thought on that curly question is if the male owner is unaware that there's a female who wants to climb the corporate ladder, he could well be unaware that the males in your business also want to climb the corporate ladder. So I actually think he's got a dysfunctional team to start with. And I think that does come back to something you said, Nell, is sometimes we do separate these males and females, and there definitely is separate issues, but sometimes it's just managing people better.
The one thing I'll say with that is when you listen to Mel describe working with her personal trainer that didn't necessarily have a grand future in personal training, the great thing Mel did is she customized her conversation or customized the personal development, the training program to that individual. And I think sometimes owners tend to create training plans or things that, one size fits all. And that's not really the case. And especially in this era today with our employees, is you have to customize that training plan to each individual person. Discover what their strengths are, how to feed those strengths, discover areas that they want to develop in, and create that plan. I think too many owners try and do one thing works for everyone.
I think the problem with that, though, Allison, is now the majority of gym owners get rid of the franchises and just owners. Talk about the majority of them are passionate about spiritual growth on in the gym, whether it's training, like with cardio or teaching classes. We aren't given that. We aren't given the Bible. We open. We make a lot of mistakes, and the problem is we aren't taught those skills that you're talking about, and those skills aren't actually taught to people who then thrive. So a lot of the time, as a handicap, their entire journey as gym owners. And though we hate talking about it, COVID showed every gym owner what systems they had in place and what are going to get out. And so we as an industry are at fault for educating everyday gym owners. For different franchises to have their systems in place, and you're not always reliable. Let's talk about the independent new operator that goes out and on their own family business, what they doing. Nobody really reaches out. They're left on their own.
JT, I think Mel just did a wonderful commercial or bit for why you join Rex Roundtables.
I think you're absolutely right, Allison.
I'm just going to add something to this. So I'm not very good with Chan these days, but probably around then, 2009, I remember JT asked me a question. And I told him what I wanted to do in the industry long term. He said, well, why haven't you spoken to such and such? And I said, well, they have me. And he pulled the face because he has a JT case. And he goes, well, why don't you ring them? And it was that day I realized that if I wanted to be successful in the fitness industry, like I was in a previous industry, I was going to have to do the work and the groundwork myself. Because I hate saying this, fitness industry was, I'm not saying JT, the fitness industry was as sexist as the previous industry that I was in. And it's going to have to be hard, if not harder, to get somewhere in this industry.
So based on all of your experience now, we like to give our listeners a bit of a challenge. For our female listeners, what's your 90-day challenge to them to develop their careers?
You need to reach out to somebody that you aspire to be like and say to them, I want to advance my career. I don't want to be where I am now. I want to go. And listen to that person and allow them to give ideas that you can actually put into place. Every single woman and every single man out there can aspire to be more than what they are today. And we need to remind ourselves every day somebody wakes up and aspires to be just like us. We inspire people every single day without realizing it. If you advance your career, reach out to someone. Doesn't matter who they are, can be known. Reach out to someone and say, welcome.
Great answer. I love that. And we'll put Mel's contact details in the show notes so you can contact her. Allison, for our male listeners, what's a 90-day challenge for them to help develop and promote females in their organization into a leadership role?
Okay, I have 3 things for them to do. First of all, I want them to think about themselves, and if they have a spouse or a significant other or a female at home, I want them to think about, are they giving that woman support for her in whatever role she is? Whether it's whatever business, whatever at home, are they giving her support? Because the number one reason I hear from women is not supervisor support or leader support. It's they don't think they have support at home. So I would say for men, look at home and really have a conversation, make sure you're doing that. So you got to do at home. Secondly, I'd say to men, look at the events, look at the conferences, look at the events you go to. And if the room is filled with men, take a step back and say, we're missing some voices here. The same thing I would say is if you go to an event and everyone is old and at the tail of their career, I'd say step back and go, we need some younger voices in the room. And then the third thing is to look at their team and identify, a rising star that's a female and invite them, encourage them, give them someone they should reach out to talk to, invite them to a meeting or an event so that they can learn and see and really start trying to develop that growth mindset. So it's 90 days. So you got 3 things: at home, places you go and participate in, and at your own business.
We've got a new hashtag for the Fitness Business Podcast. Hashtag invite women. I really feel that's been the essence of today's conversation is inviting women into the culture of a business, or inviting women to apply for roles, or inviting women to present at conferences, whatever the case is. The key is invitation, from what I heard from both of you.
And the one thing I'll add, JT, with the invitation is women tend to have more responsibilities outside of their professional career. So if you're inviting women, their lead time typically is longer than a man. And so I would really keep that in mind when you're inviting, because, they just have more responsibilities to take care of. And that's from feedback from the women leaders I work with and just in general based on the research.
So it's not that a man is a quicker decision maker. The female's perception is I've got to get all my ducks in line before saying yes.
Yes.
Well, see, for me, if somebody said to me, if another woman came to me and said, well, I don't know, I've got to get the kids, how bad do not feel guilty for having a career. Do not feel guilty for being successful. If you want it, you need to implement it. You go home and you say to your husband, so I need you to block out the 5th of March because this is where I'm going and this is why I'm going. You'll be right, won't you?
And by the way, for those that can't see the video, Mel has just dropped the mic and walked off to the right-hand side.
And I'm still married after 40 years also all want you to know that.
Oh, Mel and Allison, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mel and Allison, for all of your wonderful knowledge today. As I said right up front, I learned so much from our discussion, and I'm so grateful for how open you were and how caring you are to our industry and our males and our females in our industry. All right, FB community, you know the story. Get after it now. The trusted suppliers from Rex Roundtables this episode are Max members, automating member management and engagement. Les Mills, offering group fitness classes and solutions. Evolt 360, providing body composition analysis technology. American Barbell, getting to you high quality fitness and strength equipment. You can find all of the contact details on this week's episode notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Next week's show, 2 words: Savannah Bananas. They're not in the business of sport, but the entertainment industry. And you're going to love the insights the CEO, Jared Orton, shared to make your business remarkable. Now, your Fitness Business Podcast is more than me just speaking to you into a microphone and you listening. We're building a community of owners, managers, team members, and entrepreneurs on LinkedIn, the professionals Facebook. So come and join our community to hear exclusively about future guests, ask past guest questions, and a few more surprises. Go to LinkedIn and search Fitness Business Podcast LinkedIn community, or swing over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and click on the community link button. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. Catch you in 2 weeks.